right, Mrs. Maureen. I feel like this has been a long time coming, but super excited to have you on the podcast.
I'm so excited. You guys are always scaling such an impressive company. So anytime I see it, I'm like, I love being around people that have that energy.
Well, thank you. That means a lot, especially coming from you, because I know you were, obviously having just wrapped up Lead Summit, you were like the highlight, I feel like, of the weekend. And every time I hear you speak, like, I don't know if you remember, but whenever I first heard you speak, Mike and I first heard you speak at Ruben's event, Good Boss Weekend in San Diego, you and I were talking for a while afterwards during one of the lunches, and we're just talking business, and I'm talking to you about funnels, and you're talking to me about all the things you do and content automation, and you kept mentioning school. And you kept saying school, and I'm just, the way you carry yourself, you do not carry yourself like you are your age. And so after you mentioned school several times, I kind of asked, I was like, hey, I don't want to be like rude, I know this is not something you're supposed to ask, but how old are you? Like, I'm 20. Well, I just turned 20. And I was like, what? Like, I feel like the life experiences that you have and the way you carry yourself and the business, the size of business that you've grown, you are just so far beyond your years. And so hearing you talk then, and then how much you've freaking improved even on top of that since then at our event, and watching, kind of, it felt like your kind of coming out party of people were like, yeah, like people in the back were like, Gen Z's arrived, like we're all screwed. This is what we're up against now. We need to make our bag and get out, is what Zach Colburn said. He's like, because they're here. But it's so impressive what you're doing. So I want you to kind of put it in your words, like what do you do first for the people that don't know yet?
Yeah, for sure. So I help coaches build viral personal brands on social media. So really just helping them scale that, how to figure out how to get more leads and then convert that into more income. That way you can have more freedom in your life. Because like, I was really good at getting a ton of people to apply to work with me, but then I was working 12 hours a day. And I was like, wait a second, you're gonna run a successful business, but what's the point? So then I just dialed down on, okay, how can I automate this? So on average, I can easily post 100 videos in a month, and I just schedule that out in advance. And it's just really nice to have that process automated, because I think if you can set it up where you easily post 100 videos a month automated, you'll never have to worry about income again. Like, if you can have that as your benchmark and you post 100 videos a month, your business is going to scale exponentially, and people will be like, Maureen, you did like 20 years of work in like 3 years. And I'm like, that's because I posted like 20 years of content in 3 years.
And we implemented, after hearing Maureen talk, we implemented your system shortly after that. And I haven't, I posted a recap of the event yesterday, but outside of stories, I pretty much haven't actually gone on social media and posted anything in probably 4 months since we talked, you know? And it's because we implemented your system, and Mike and I have people actually, we make the content and we batch it, we put it in our little kind of like file sharing systems, and then editors take it from there, and then other people are posting it, what the times we tell them to post it, what the captions we tell them to post it with. And so it's such a simple system, but it works so well, and it has changed the game for us, because what we've done with it, and we'll talk about different goals and different business types and stuff. You're looking for the more freedom, and don't get me wrong, I want some freedom too, right? But we've used it over the last 4 months to, pretty much 1.5x the business with that extra free time, because now it's not like having to stop momentum to, I gotta film today and like go post on everything, or if I even get to do that. It's been, okay, now that that's off my plate, I don't have to do any of that anymore on a consistent basis. Now I can actually just focus on building. And so we've seen a massive growth inside of the business, because we've been able to do that all because of you being able to help us take content off of our day-to-day schedule. So it's been so cool for us to be able to implement your systems.
Yeah, because you guys just got the new office and onboarding team members and seeing you guys' income scale. It's just like transformational, and like you as the business owner shouldn't be worried about logging into Instagram and posting every day. Like, what I love is my content's scheduled for the next 3 months through March. I don't have to worry about it. I can do things like record podcasts or do speaking gigs, and it's like the content is scheduled, so I can focus on the business, the income generating, and then the content works to bring in the income, but then I can focus on the actual clients I'm working with, which is why Like, I have coaches all over the world that'll just help like automate the entire process, and exactly like you said, it is so unbelievably simple, but nobody has it set up. Like, nobody's able to, or not many people I mean are able to post 100 videos a month so seamlessly in that amount of time. And I think it's just because I made so many mistakes through the process of like, I'll try this, I'll try this, I'll try this, working at different companies, helping them with their content, and then I realized, wait a second, I love doing this, like building a content repurposing workflow. Why don't I just set this up in my own business? And then it worked so well that people were like, wow, you're scaling so fast. How can I do what you do? And then I was like, I'll help you do your content automation system. And then seeing companies implement that and having like being able to delegate that to employees. Like now with my team, it's like my virtual assistant, my personal assistant, my closers, they can all handle all that. And I just focus on the day to day because my content's like covered.
Which is so huge. And I want to kind of dive back into your journey because a lot of people, I mean, Maureen's 20 years old, right? You're 20 years old. Hopefully about to turn 21, right?
In a day or two.
Really? Okay, happy early birthday. Okay, so about to be 21, but talk about what this has looked like for you, because I know if I was just listening to this podcast, like, and I know a lot of the entrepreneurs that listen to this podcast are coaches and things like that are like, what the heck? Like, she's done what she's done at 21 years old, and they're mid to late 20s, early 30s, and thinking, how? What crazy path evolved into Maureen Evelyn, right? So talk to us about kind of like your journey, some of the stuff that you've shared with me privately.
Yeah, for sure. So in high school, I was the girl with the 4.2 GPA. I was like, school is the most important thing ever. I was like in every after school club. I was like, I'm going to be the vice president of this club and this club and this club. And I did everything with the goal of, I'm going to build an impressive resume for college. And then randomly it just hit me one day and I'm like, wait, I could actually be more successful if I skipped college and got a great job, get a 9-to-5. I could get a 4-year head start in corporate over my peers if I just jumped straight in. So I applied for like a 9-to-5 style job, and I went into the interview and it was like helping a government agency with their marketing. And I went into the interview and it was like the other people that were applying were obviously older than me. They had degrees because it mandated that on the website. And I just told them transparently, I was like, I don't have a degree. Here's what I know about social media, because I had experience running my first business in organic cosmetics. So I kind of explained how I scaled that, and they were like, whoa. And they were like, and then I got called back for another interview, and then I did a third interview with an algorithm expert for social media, and then they were like, we want to offer you the job. And then once I got offered that job, I just realized, wait, I don't need a college degree. When they offered me that job at 18, I turned it down. And then I told my parents I was going to skip college. And then my friends were like, what? You've been working this long to get A's in every class. You're doing all this after school clubs and you're going to skip college. And I was like, yeah. And I just put my back against the wall. I moved out at 18, moved into the barn loft, and I just started working like 12 hours a day on my laptop, posting 3 TikToks a day. And I was like, I'm going to scale this enough that I make more than that job offered me the first year. And the first 3 months I made $0. And I was like, wait a second, this might not work. I was like, should I get a degree? And I was like, no, I'm not going to get a degree. I was like, put myself against the wall. And then month 4, I signed my first few clients. And then month 5, it was like, that was when I hit like a $14,000 month at 18. And I was like, whoa, if I can make this much money at 18, living in a barn loft in the middle of nowhere, why do I need a college degree? And I never went to college. And then from there, it scaled exponentially because I had referrals, clients re-signing. It's just been so much fun seeing that process and realizing that I feel like I'm so like blessed to have the advantage of, I feel like I did have a head start because I just pretended I had the piece of paper. Like I just pretended, okay, Maureen, you have a college degree. I just pretended that. And I'm like, what would you do if you had a college degree? And I was like, oh, I'd apply for that job. So I just applied for that job. And then I was like, would I take that job? Probably not. Let me just start my business. And then I did that.
Yeah. And talk about, I mean, so with you in particular, as far as the confidence to do some of these things that you're doing, where does that stem from? You know, like, was it just in being a high performer in high school? Was it did you have, I'm sure you had great parents, but did you have your parents, were they always instilling that confidence in you and reinforcing this type of behavior? Like, what did that look like for you? Like, where did this mentality get crafted, I guess? Yeah,
a lot of times people ask me, like, where did you get the confidence from? And I used to be terrified of failure. That was what dictated my entire life. I was terrified to fail. I was like, I need to get an A in every class. I need to be a high performer. But because I was terrified of failure, I never took any risks. I always chose the safe option. I'm like, what is the safest thing I can do? The safest thing I can do is go to college, get a good degree, get a good job. And then one day it clicked for me, and I was like, what if I just did the polar opposite? So I stopped reading self-improvement books. I took a break on those, and then I just doubled down on doing stuff that made me feel uncomfortable intentionally to fail on purpose. And that's when I talk about how I applied to Harvard as a joke and ended up getting waitlisted because I watched Legally Blonde, and I'm like, wait, let me try that. And then I was like, whoa. If you put yourself in that room to potentially get rejected, and then it completely flipped the script for me on what success is. And I realized in order to be the most high level version of yourself, it's like you just need the reps. And if you're going to be successful, you're going to have a lot of failures. So before, I was actually holding myself back from the next level of success because I didn't do anything that was a risk. So then I intentionally started taking risks, and once I took the first one, I took the next one. Then I walked up to strangers eating dinner on the side of the road, and I was like, hey, can I eat dinner with you guys? And they said yes, and we had an amazing conversation, and I realized, like, life, you can ask anything. You can apply for anything. People tell you no, you're in the same place you started. And, like, because of that process and that video getting 20 million views, people were like, how did you get over your fear of rejection? So then because of social media, I met my co-founder, and we decided, let's launch a rejection app. And it's just crazy to see how that has evolved. And it's like when you build a personal brand, you can do anything. I do content coaching for entrepreneurs. I run an app. Doing both of those things at the same time. It's like, because the business is me, I get paid to be me. So that's why I'm huge on everyone should start a personal brand. Everyone should scale a personal brand, because when you get paid to be you, you get paid to be happy if you're happy being you.
Just make sure it doesn't get too much in your face. Get this better. Okay. Yeah, and that brings up another question that I'm actually really interested to hear from you on is, with you being, I mean, you're 6 years ahead of, or younger than I am, and with you growing up in the exact kind of time period you did, like, I still remember when I was 12, 13, 14 years old, that's when Instagram launched.
Right.
Like, I remember us talking about this new app, Instagram, and like, this is what everyone's getting, and you just post pictures, and I was like, that's stupid. Like, who wants to just look at, because it was Facebook at that point, and Facebook wasn't even really picture oriented. It was just, you posted, like, it was like more like Twitter is now, right? You just posted words. And so I remember when that happened, but there wasn't, the blueprint wasn't out there yet for, you can go build a personal brand and make a bunch of money online. It was the traditional, like, I understand that I'm going to go to college. I understand that I'm going to use that piece of paper that I get to go get a job. So do you feel like you understood from a young age, from watching, I guess, social media having evolved that extra 6 years, you understood that this could be a viable path for you?
I think for me, I just accidentally fell into entrepreneurship. I say, like, when I started my first business, which was homemade organic cosmetics, that was a gateway drug for me into entrepreneurship, because I was just making chapsticks in my parents' kitchen, and I would make like 200 of them. I would just hand them out to friends, and then friends were like, oh my gosh, this is way better than the chapstick I buy, because it was like all organic. And then I was like, I just started an Etsy shop. And I remember in high school, it's like I was in entrepreneurship classes, and I would have like the finance class pulled up on my laptop, and I would like mute the teacher on my finance class, and I would be running my business in my parents' spare room, mailing out orders. And I learned more doing than by hearing. And that's when it clicked for me that the best way to learn something is to do it. Because I had always been like so in the books at school of like, let me study entrepreneurship. So in the entrepreneurship club, let me study finance. And I was like, nothing teaches you finance better than investing, saving, spending, like doing it instead of reading it. So really that switch helped me get to that next level. I was like, whoa. If you do instead of think, that's where results are. And before, I used to think thinking would get me to success.
Yeah, that's powerful stuff, because I always have the line that I say is, I was an entrepreneur before I knew there was a word for it,
Yeah.
And because I had a super young age, looking back now, I think I was just a weird kid, but at a super young age, I started like a little paracord survival bracelet company. And it was like, I call it a company, but it was just it was something that I started making, like you said, with your chapstick brand, for my friends. And it was like, I learned how to make these bracelets from watching a YouTube video. And then I told somebody told me that they would pay me like $7 to make a bracelet. I was like, that's easy. So I went and bought a little bit more of the paracord, and then I made a bracelet for them, and then somebody else asked for another one, and then I made a bracelet for them. And it kind of just like took off inside of like my little city. And then my dad challenged me, which ultimately is what set me down the online money path, was he was like, why don't you make a website? Because
Right.
you're gonna run out of people in Perry, Oklahoma, which is where I grew up, with a population of 5,000 people. You know, and there's 200 kids in our school. You're gonna run out of people to sell to here. Make a website.
Mhm.
And I remember at the time thinking, well, don't you have to be like a billionaire to make a website? Like,
Right.
you can't. I couldn't make a website. I was a little kid.
Mhm.
And he was like, figure it out. So I looked it up, figured it out, built a little website, started getting into some photography, and then getting that first ever order online. I was like,
Whoa.
hold on a second. Like, I can make something that I just thought up in my head, and I can put it out there, and somebody can just find it, and they'll actually spend their hard-earned money on something I created or I facilitated. And so I remember that being kind of like a light bulb moment for me of, this is possible, you know, because again, there wasn't anything like that I had been exposed to in small town Oklahoma, where somebody was like telling me, you could be an entrepreneur, you could own your own business, Baker, and you could do it online, and people across the country can reach it.
Mhm.
It was, if you were going to run a business, it was, the way I thought of it was like, you have to get a store, and you have to put products in the store,
Mhm.
and you do it in your town, and then people come to the town if it's a good thing, you know.
Right.
Like, that's what I thought. And so I remember that being my light bulb moment was I don't think anything came unplugged, so we're probably good. Sorry, guys. But I remember that being my light bulb moment of what changed it for me and what let me know that this was possible at all.
Mhm.
It sounds like you had the same thing with your cosmetics brand.
Same thing. I got that first notification on Etsy that someone had bought like a lip balm online, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
I remember I was like sitting with my parents in the living room, and I heard that like cha-ching
Mm-hmm.
in the kitchen, and I was like, no way,
Mhm.
it happened. And then apparently you can't be on Etsy under the age of 18. So I generated so many orders on Etsy that they kicked me off Etsy for being under 18. Because I remember I would go to the post office with laundry baskets, just dumping the orders on the counter, and it was so much fun. But then it's like, I'm such a people person
Mm-hmm.
that I spent every day locked in an office making orders, packing orders, mailing orders, and I was like, okay, I love marketing, I love entrepreneurship. How can I get out of order fulfillment and into like consulting, chatting with people, getting paid to communicate? And that's really where I found like the passion. But yeah, same thing. Once you have that light bulb moment, or like even in my coaching business, once I made my first $500, I realized if I can make $500, I can make $500,000, because I just take this, rinse and repeat, change a couple things, and boom.
Yeah.
But it's like the first 500 is always the hardest, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree with you. And I noticed a similar thing when transitioning to service, because I really loved, and I still do love it. I still think at some point I'll do something product based again. If I get to a point where I can, either with personal brand or just financially, just fund getting in front of the eyeballs, you know. But I really loved creating a thing, or conceptualizing this thing, and then the idea of just putting it out there and then people purchasing that thing.
Mhm.
And whenever I first got my taste of a service-based business was for me, it was in personal training.
Mhm.
And instead of like packaging the thing and shipping the thing and getting the thing to people, it was like people were paying for a portion of my time.
Mhm.
But it wasn't someone else facilitating that time and being paid this hourly rate for whatever else. It was people were coming directly to me to say, Baker, I want to pay you this much per hour for you, just your expertise in something.
Mhm.
And that was really cool. Like, I remember I hit my first $1,000. I was doing it as a side thing in college to like make money. I made $1,000 in 1 month.
Wow.
And I remember calling my dad and being like, Dad, I think I'm rich. Like,
Yeah.
especially with how little my expenses were back in college.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm working this other job, but I made $1,000 just from this thing over here.
Mhm.
Like, I think this. Am I gonna be a millionaire? Like, it's just like another light bulb moment of, okay, it doesn't have to be the $12 an hour or the $9 an hour or the thing that somebody else pays you for. I can set my own hourly rate, and someone can pay me just for access to me.
Mhm.
And that was another transition for me, because I had, by that point, social media had developed. I was seeing some personal brands. I was seeing a lot of people launch, Alpha League, which I've got an Alpha League shirt over there hanging up, and some of these other companies, and Christian Guzman, the entrepreneur behind it. Watching them do that, it was like, okay, you build a massive audience. So I was trying to build a massive audience, and then you launch products off of that. But whenever I figured out the service-based industry, that was a whole other world and a whole other light bulb moment, in my opinion, for me to understand, whoa, there's kind of more out here, and this I don't actually have to pay for the product. I don't have to get it manufactured. I don't have to pack any orders. I don't have to print out the label. I don't have to take it to the post office. Like, I don't have to do all that stuff. You know?
It's so nice when you can get paid to chat.
Yes. Yeah, and just chat about stuff you're passionate about.
And it's amazing, and then you get to see that helps people. I know I was talking about this yesterday at the talk, but it's like my sister says I'm a professional yapper.
Yep.
It's like I get paid to podcast because it'll potentially sign a client, or I get paid to post on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube. So I get paid on coaching calls. And it's like when you can get paid to be a yapper, I know people hate on it on social media. They're like, great, another person with a podcast. But it's like, how crazy is it that like, I'm recording this podcast, I'm about to get on a flight, I'll fly home, I'll take some Zoom calls tomorrow with my team. Like, that's my job. My job is chatting, and I don't think like today is the perfect age to double down on that. Like, build a personal good brand, get paid to chat. If you like communicating, you can do it professionally. And it's like, and people are always like, Maureen, how do you do that? Like, how do you actually get there? And it's like, in order to get there, you do the exact opposite of like where you want to go. So like, I think if you want to be fit, you embrace the pain of not being fit by like working out. You notice you're not fit. So like, you're probably not good at recording content when you first start. So you purposely film bad content. And then doing that and embracing that pain, it like builds the muscle of now you're better at communicating. And when you get good enough at communicating, then you get paid to communicate, and then you get paid to be you. And then you can change the way you communicate and get paid to do that too. And I'm like, this is so crazy that we live in an era where you can do that full time.
I'm so impressed as well, by the way, with you growing up in the era of social media that you did, and obviously it's changing as we speak with TikTok getting banned last night. You know, so it's kind of it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. But growing up in the era that you grew up in and not getting lost in these algorithms that are so well put together. But you talk all the time, and it's crazy because that's your livelihood. You said it many times this weekend on panels and during your keynote. Keynote at 20 years old, by the way. And you said, I don't want to be on social media. You're like, I don't want to spend my time on social media. And it's like, that's everything you do. And Mike and I were talking about it earlier. It's funny because that's the thing you repeated the most this weekend. And everyone looks at you and thinks of you as like, Maureen is social media. It's because you've set up your life and you've set up everything in the way that you've set it up to be where you're at, with where you can have that viewpoint, and stuff's still going to go out 120 pieces of content a month.
Yeah, it's crazy because people see the fact that I post every day on social media, or almost every single day on social media, and they're like, wow, Maureen, like, you must love social media. I was like, I love the vehicle. I'm getting in the vehicle of social media to help people, to reach thousands of people. And then honestly, I prefer to be hiking. I prefer to be spending time with family. It's like I'm building my social media now when I'm young. That way in the future, when I'm like married and I have kids, like I can focus on marriage and kids and like raising a family. Like people will be like, oh, Maureen, do you want to build this like super successful company? It's like, I've always kind of had the idea of like, I want to be a stay-at-home mom. And it's like, okay, well, I don't want to get married right now. So how can I provide myself right now that stay-at-home mom lifestyle of like buying organic blueberries and living that way? And I'll do that, and I'll try to become the best version of myself possible. That way in the future, I can actually get off social media potentially, or like streamline it. Like now, like let's pretend I had a kid. I wouldn't have to log into social media for the next 3 months. I could just spend time with my kids. And it's cool to think about that because I'm like, that is what keeps me moving forward. I remind myself I have an advantage right now because it's like, it's just me. All I have to do is provide for me. And in the future, it's like having that flexibility. I want to take advantage of that now because I think we're in the opportunity of a lifetime. So I'm huge on, use social media to create. Don't use it to consume. And if you create, you get paid to create. So if you can just reduce the consumption that you do every day, it's like that's really where the income is. People will watch Netflix, or they're watching TV, or they're watching social media, and they're like, wow, there's so many business models out there. Which business model should I do? And it's like, you need to stop watching and start doing. And it's in the doing, it's in the action that'll help you scale. Yeah.
You have this, you talked a lot about it as well, and it's funny because there was a few people that spoke up after you spoke up about it, about sharing your same viewpoint of not necessarily, I mean, your ideal life is working 3 or 4 hours a day and generating business when you choose to generate business essentially.
Yeah.
And I think what a lot of our coaches get kind of caught up in, what Mike and I get caught up in for sure, but it's also, we are trying to build this thing to a certain level with exit in mind and exit potential. But a lot of people think that you have to scale. You have to, you know. And a lot of our coaches get to this threshold of $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 a month, and then they think that they have to go down the massive assistant coach route, and they got to hire 3 or 4 assistant coaches. They got to fill up all their assistant coaches books, and they got to hire 5 or 6 VAs and setters, and they got to hire maybe somebody that runs all of their operations. And then before you know it, this coach that was actually making more money at $8,000 a month than they are at $35,000 a month, because their overhead is $20K alone, right? And they have their systems and softwares and everything like that that's $2 or $3 grand a month, and then they have to actually save for taxes still, and so it's like you're only taking home $4 grand a month at $30K or $35K versus the entire $8K at $8K. You know, and which one? And now you have mouths to feed, people that depend on you every single month to make this amount of money because you're paying all their bills.
Right.
And so there is this threshold that you cross as a coach, and what we try to tell people is you don't have to go past that.
Yeah.
You could have 30 clients if you wanted to, and you could cap it, and you could do $500 a month per person if you have the ability to charge that much, and you can make $15,000 a month. Manage those 30 clients, which is very easy to do. Manage 30 clients at a high ticket rate, and live a great life.
Yes.
You know, make 180 grand a year and be really, really good, and not have to worry about anybody else. So for you, especially at such a young age, where most people of your peers are like, I gotta gain, acquire, dig. Where does that security come from for you to be like, I just want to work 4 hours a day. I don't want to scale to this massive thing yet.
Yeah. So when I used to work 12 hours a day, I was thinking about like, okay, how can I sign the next client? How can I make the most income? And then once I hit my first over $10,000 a month, and I hit another 10K month, I hit another 10K month, I realized, wait a second, I save so aggressively, I don't have to worry anymore. I don't have to sign clients out of desperation. Now it's like I choose clients based on, do I love working with this person? And I think for me, once I scaled past that $10,000 a month, or once I scaled past my first $15,000 a month, I realized I love working Tuesdays through Thursdays on Zoom calls. I love working 4 hours a day. I love doing that. That gives me fulfillment, and I can get a lot of work done in 4 hours if you duct tape yourself to the chair. You get the work done, you knock it out. And then I love working optionally on top of that, and I view that as the sprinkles, which I talked about yesterday, of like, I'm going to get the cupcake work done. I'm going to get the main thing built. And then I give myself extra credit if I work more than 4 hours on Tuesdays through Thursdays, or if I work Mondays and Fridays too some weeks. That I give myself credit for, and that helps it scale. And if I look at the trajectory of my business, like every month since I've started, it's just like consistently signing more clients. And I realize the biggest thing that's going to hold me back from success is burnout, because I have a tendency to overwork. I haven't yet burnt out at all, and I'm so excited. I feel like I've got a good 10 plus years in me, but I know that like the business keeps scaling. The only mindset I need to keep is you don't need it. You want to scale, but it's not a requirement tomorrow, because every month, like even launching the app, it's like every month seeing new users join or seeing the content go out, it's bringing in more people. It's crazy to think that the content I posted 3 years ago is still getting views on some platform and paying me today. I think a lot of people, what they don't realize on social media is they'll post a video on social media and then they'll be like, wow, I didn't sign a client. And it's like the video you posted today might pay you $5,000 3 years from now. Like, all people reach out all the time. Very seldom does
it pay you today as well.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. Like one of my videos on TikTok, another coach saw it. He hired me. That coach then referred me to his clients. And then I spoke there, and then I ended up meeting you guys. And I was speaking to your guys' clients. And it's like one video made this podcast happen. And that video was posted 2-ish years ago. And it's crazy. And people will be like, oh, Maureen, like, how did you get on that podcast? And it's like, it started 2 or 3 years ago. It wasn't today. Like, I didn't send you guys an email this morning, hey, can I be on a podcast? And then expect to be on a podcast. It's like, the content I'm posting today is the content that will make me successful in 3 years from now. So I don't worry about today. I don't worry about like, oh, what's my income this month? Because I know that my income is good enough to like live a great life right now. I just know that I'm working for the long term, because that's the goal. The goal is to stay in this for as long as possible. And just like reach as many people as possible, which is why I'm so consistent with like uploading so much content online.
Yeah, and you're honestly, you're just wise beyond your years too. And I think especially, you know, Brad Dunn. I think you probably met him. the guy that is super cool and wearing the black shirt and it's got all the tats and the cool handlebar mustache that's walking around out there. He and I were just talking about the whole nature versus nurture, like that us as men, we have more of an inclination to, like, we feel that we have to scale, you know, a lot of times, and I think guys fall into that trap a lot. And I think more with a lot of our female coaches and just like the females that I've even just encountered in my circle and everything, is they don't necessarily feel they want to enjoy the nurture and what that looks like at scale, you know, and not necessarily feeling that they have to push for certain numbers, but feeling that they are pushing for, you know, more impact, like you talk about, being able to do things inside of your life that brings you fulfillment, that doesn't necessarily stress you out or take you to these different levels of burnout and things like that. Because I think something that Mike and I struggle with a lot is experiencing some of that burnout or experiencing some of that excess of stress and anxiety because of trying to push too far within some of these things. Nice. And Mike just walked in and TikTok just got reinstated while we were on the app. So good news for you.
Yes, that is good. I think, people don't talk about that enough. Like, men and women are different, obviously. People don't lean into that now. But it's like, I scale my business differently from a feminine perspective. I love picnicking. Yeah. I love, you know, dancing. I view my business as masculine. Like, I view my business as my business provides for me right now. So my business is my strict Google Calendar schedule, and then I view it as I dance between the lines. So I have my calls booked, and then I get to nurture clients. I get to motivate clients. I kind of view my business as like, I get to motivate all my clients to help them be more successful. I enjoy motivating. I enjoy, you know, nurturing. Yes. Whereas, like, I don't really enjoy the thought process, like, how can I scale this to XYZ level? It's like, I love fulfilling clients and, like, seeing that process. And I think, like, when I leaned into business from a feminine perspective of, like, how can I nurture? How can I motivate? How can I inspire? How can I use positivity and peace to, like, scale? I became happier. I think a lot of women in business, they'll, like, double down on, like, how can I be super hardcore? Yeah. How can I be a CEO? Like, how can I do XYZ? And it's like, why? Like, why do you want to be a CEO? Like, what is the purpose? Because, like, being a CEO comes with a level of leadership, comes with a level of responsibility. It's like, do you want that responsibility? Like, I always tell people on social media, like, if you want to attract followers, act like a leader. So it's like, yes, I'm a leader in terms of, like, creating content online, but more I view it as, like, I'm motivating, I'm nurturing, and that makes me happy. That gives me a sense of fulfillment. I think a lot of people try to lean into a different aspect, and then they're not able to scale because it's not, like, true to them.
Yeah, and that makes total sense. I had one of my previous guests. He's a coach, and his wife's a coach as well. And his wife actually has the bigger coaching company. And he said what they've noticed over the past couple of years is she'll hit these crazy months, and she just wasn't happy about it. And from his perspective, he's like, dang, like, I wanna hit some of those crazy months, and I wanna do some of those things, and, like, how can you not be thrilled? Like, that's awesome. And what they through you know, therapy and through a bunch of deep talks, what they kind of understood is, like, what she's really craving and wanting to do is wanting to be the CEO of the home. You know, and she loves working with her women, and the act of, like, working with the women that want to work with her and making sure that they achieve what they want to achieve and stuff. But the actual business side of that means nothing to her. She doesn't care about it. And that was hard for him he talked about that was kind of hard for him to come to terms with, because he's like, I would love to switch that around and, like, maybe hitting some of these things and doing some of these things. And he was like, it was hard for me to understand at first, but he talked about, you know, she basically said, like, I just think it's just how I'm wired. That's just what I want. You know, I don't care as much about the numbers or the metrics or the revenue or the profit or the things that maybe are more masculine goals or we have an affinity for those things. And so I just think it's interesting to see how different people, whether, you know, on either side of the gender, you know, kind of spectrum of how you actually are attacking these things day to day. So it's cool that you already are talking about a lot of those things, and just how it's like, yeah, I would rather grow a more feminine business and want to go down towards this path. And you're so open and transparent and sure about that at such a young age, which is so hard for people to get to.
Yeah. The way I think about my business is right now I can have the biggest impact by nurturing my clients, because right now I don't have kids. If I think about the impact I can have on a client, I can help them, their life or their business change maybe 10%. In the future, when I have kids, I can change the way my kids view the world at a crazier, higher percentage. So if I raise 3 amazing kids in the future, that's going to have a bigger impact on their life than me helping 500 clients. So I think that's going to have a huge impact on their life, and then they're going to be able to go out into the world and they're going to be able to make a huge difference. So I love having that balance of, I love working with clients. I'm really passionate about scaling a company, but I also love the idea of in the future, like nurturing children and having that, which I think a lot of people don't talk about. Like for me, it's like that's the balance I have right now. I love being, scaling XYZ, making a ton of income. It's great to, get paid $10,000 or sign a client for $12,000, and it's like that's really fun. And I know I changed someone's life by this much, but then I think about it in terms of like family or relationships or personal connections. It's like you have even more impact when you're in closer proximity with people. And for me, that's why I don't want to run my business 80 hours a week, because that takes away time from my family. So it's like, how can I run the business at the highest level possible with the least amount of work possible? That way, like right now, I can spend time with my parents or my grandparents or my sister. Like, how can I have that balance? Because I think a lot of people, like, they'll spend so much time on their business because they're like, oh, this business is going to pay for my family. But it's like the business actually subtracts from the family, because at a certain level, how much income do you actually want to be making? Like for me, after getting over $10,000 a month, I can travel every single month. I can live in a nice apartment in Scottsdale. I can pay for organic grass-fed steak. It's like life is good for me at this level, and I'm like, it's going to keep scaling. I know that as I continue to take action, it's going to keep scaling. But I'm not worried about the scale, because I know like I just love what I do. So as long as I keep loving what I do, it's going to keep scaling.
Yeah. And that's, again, you're just wise beyond your years, because it's so important for people to be able to come to that conclusion of where they want to be and where they feel more fulfilled. And the fact that you've already figured that out at 20 years old is super inspiring to me, because I feel like I go back and forth on a lot of this stuff,
Yeah.
And what I found is the difference between, like you said, like a $10,000 and $15,000 a month in terms of income is really like your life doesn't really change that much. It's for most people, it's hard to spend that much money. So you're able to kind of hit all of your spending goals and the savings goals and the things that you want to do. So it is very inspiring to see that. And one thing that I want to kind of, I guess, pivot into is what, for you and for some of the goals and stuff that you're talking about, what does this next year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years look like for you in terms of where you're trying to take this mentality you have around work, this mentality you have around your business, and the nurture and stuff you want to provide for your clients? What do you think that looks like for you? Do you even think in terms of long-term goals like that, or do you just think I'm going to make sure that 100 pieces of content goes out every single month and things are going to happen as a result?
I love setting delusional goals and having that. So I'm always thinking about where I'm going. I feel like I never think about like where I was. I'm always like, how can I get to this stage? So for me, I have 2 things. 1, scale the personal brand, provide value. Because when I scale the personal brand and provide value, I'm going to pull the people that like me into my content, and I know that turns into income, and I'm going to push away the people that don't like me. That's perfect. And my second goal is scale my app, Rejecto. So it's like, because I've seen when I log into the Google Analytics and I can see all the blue dots around the world of people using the app and getting rejected on purpose to get over their fear. Like when people ask me what I do for work, I'm so tempted to say like I help people get rejected on purpose. Such a weird job to have, but I've now realized that like the app is going to be the thing that enables me to help hundreds of thousands of people in the future build their confidence, like become the best version of themselves. And I'm no longer the product. In my personal brand, I'm the coach, I'm the consultant, I'm the social media manager. I am what they're kind of buying when they pay me. So I love that, and I'm going to continue to scale that. And it's like I want to do more speaking gigs, and I want to scale that, and I want to work with more clients. But I also want to prioritize scaling the app, because that's like the company outside of me. Like my business is very like Maureen's marketing. It's me. The app is outside of me, but it's everything I'm passionate about, and I'm so passionate about self-improvement. Like from a young age, that has been my favorite thing, self-improvement. So building an app with my co-founder that is essentially like self-improvement, turning your life into a gamified situation where you level up by pushing failure. It's kind of like the anti-social media. Like Rejecto feels to me like the anti-social media, because on social media you always see people winning, you always see people perfect, and you think, wow, I'm behind in life. Yeah. So in Rejecto, it's like we're just building the feature where people can share videos of them getting rejected, photos of them getting rejected. And it's like we're creating a social media almost, in a sense, and also a gamified system where showing that failure is good when you intentionally seek it, because that's going to help you level up. So I'd say those are my two main goals of scale the personal brand. I know the personal brand is the thing that trickles income into my 8 different income streams, or my 5 different income streams. It's going to land me more speaking gigs. It's going to get me on more podcasts. It's going to help me sign more clients. It's going to help me scale my team up if I choose to onboard more team members. Yeah. And then 2, the app, and the app is under the personal brand. So the only thing I really think about is the personal brand, because everything else will fall into place. Yeah. That's why if the goal is the personal brand, and I always talk about I don't like setting goals, I like setting action items. My main thing is the personal brand, so that's the goal. The action item that I do to get to the goal is post content. So what I talk about is post content every day, because that will get me to everything in life that I want to get to.
Yeah. And you're so good at taking a lot of these complex ideas, right? Like your content automation system, like posting content every day, like getting out 100 pieces of content a month, like, setting these goals and just sticking to them. And you distill them into these, and it comes with what you said, just reps of communication. You might not have been that effective of a communicator up front, right? Yeah. But because you've got 3,000 reps at it, that's kind of where you're at now. But you take these large ideas, these complex ideas, and you distill them into something that a 10-year-old hearing your keynote speech could have followed what you were saying and been like, yeah, I'm excited to go take videos now. Like that's how people feel whenever they hear you speak. Now, the app and the whole rejection thing, because the people here that weren't at the event, right, they're missing a little bit of context on rejection and maybe that first video that went viral. So fill in that gap so that people can understand why rejection is the thing, the vehicle for you, one that's so big for your brand.
Yeah, rejection is the thing that changed my life, because I used to be terrified of failure, so I was just always avoiding failure. And then I applied to Harvard as a joke, and I got waitlisted, and I posted that video, and it got over 20 million views. And then everyone was in the comment section of that video was like, Maureen, you get rejected on purpose? What? That's crazy. Like, that makes no sense. You purposely seek out failure. So because of that, people were like, how do I do this too? So at first I wrote a PDF book that I sold, and that made a ton of passive income. That was just selling on automation. So it's like I got paid to write a miniature self-improvement book. And then I was like, wait, when I partnered with a co-founder, it's like, he's a software engineer, software developer. And it's like having him build something that then people can use to get rejected every day is like life-changing. And it's just so great, like getting the text messages in WhatsApp from people using Rejecto. It's like one of the guys on Rejecto, one of the challenges is like ask to be a mannequin at a store and stand in the front window. They're gonna say no. Like, can I wear the clothes here? One of the employees was like, yeah, you can do that. And the employee took a photo of him in the front window, like as a mannequin. And he was like, that completely changed my mindset. He was just like, what? This is possible? And that's what happened to me when I realized like you can ask. Like one time I pitched a client, I'm like, oh yeah, it's $12K. And I'm just like, I wait. And then they're like, oh, okay. Yeah, okay, we can do that. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like I'd never charged that before. And like now, like that's normal for me. I'm like, oh, 12,000, that's actually not that much. Like that's not even worth my time. So I think self-improvement is so focused on, like the entire self-improvement industry is focused on success. How can you maximize success? And I used to, take the cold showers, drink the green smoothies. I still drink a lot of green smoothies. Yeah, do all of that stuff. And I was like, why am I not successful? And then I was like, wait, because I'm not also actively failing, because you learn through failure. So I just started intentionally seeking out failure, and that's how the app came to me. And that's why I wanted to like co-found this rejection app, because it's like rejection and getting over your fear of it makes you more confident. So like a few years ago, I would be terrified to do a public speaking gig. There's no way. I'd be caught dead on a stage. There's no way. And like now, I'm like, this is so much fun. Like I enjoy it because I've leveled up. And it's like, I think what a lot of people don't realize, which is what I talked about 2 days ago in the talk, is you can choose. You can choose to be happy when you wake up. Does it work every time? No, but you can choose happiness, and you can choose to be more confident. And the way you choose to be more confident is you practice it. Confidence is a muscle. And so many people think, oh, I'm just an introvert.
Yeah.
And it's like some people will always be an introvert, but the people that want to become confident, or maybe that's not your goal, but like you can train certain aspects of your personality and become more like that. You just have to decide. and then take action and train on it. So it's kind of like we built a training app that helps you train the muscle of confidence.
And you're essentially microdosing this rejection to get to, you know, a point where you have the ability to think psychologically and kind of go against our just innate human psychological need to be approved, right? To be affirmed. And I mean, another way that this principle kind of, I guess, presents itself is the best salesman in the world typically started in some sort of like door-to-door role,
yeah,
you know, or cold calling role, because they are experiencing massive amounts of rejection over and over and over and over. People will answer the call and cuss you out. Some people will just hang up on you. People won't answer. Like, you're doing your job for 85 to 90% of your day to be no one caring what you have to say, wanting to hear from you, people being angry at you for contacting them.
Yeah.
And when these people go through massive amounts of that and they actually stick it out, they start to learn through this rejection, through this failure, how to get better at how can I keep somebody on the phone. Michael Smoke brought up this great pattern interrupt of he would cold call people in his corporate sales job, and people would typically say like, "Hey Jeff, you got 10 minutes real quick today I just want to talk to you for just a second." And he usually said, he would start out with, "Hey Jeff, I'm assuming you hate cold calls. I hate making them as much as you hate getting them, but that's what this is. I'm assuming you don't have any time right now." And by saying that, he would just interrupt their pattern, and they'd be like, "Oh wait, well yeah, I do hate getting them, but yeah, I guess I have some time real quick." And then he would get into that, right? But he wouldn't have learned that tactic if he hadn't done thousands of cold calls before that. You know, so microdosing that rejection on the sales side of things, and that's why we tell coaches a lot of times, you know, we hold these sales call role plays on the platform where coaches can just show up and they can just like pitch me, or they'll pitch Mike, or they'll pitch Felicity, or they'll pitch a member of the team, and we always reject them. You know, we're always giving them sales objections to be like, "No, I can't afford it." Like, "No, I gotta go talk to my wife. I don't want to." And then we make them kind of role play through it, and everyone's giving them feedback. But people a lot of times just need more reps. Like, if you're not a good salesman yet, go try to sell something. You know, over and over and over again, even if it's not something that you necessarily benefits or correlates to selling a fitness coaching package, but doing something like that over and over and over again, you can't not get better at it.
So true.
You made the great analogy of basically correlating fitness to that too.
Yeah, it's like you want to embrace the pain and then you get better at it. Like, I've taken hundreds of sales calls at this point, and by taking hundreds of sales calls, people are like, "Maureen, how do you make so much income on social media?" And I'm like, you don't see the amount of calls that I haven't closed. People are like, "Wow, you just hit another $15,000 a month at 20 years old. How did you do that?" And it's like, you're seeing the win. You're not seeing the like all the calls where people are like, "Oh, I need to think about it. I need to talk to someone. I need to wait." It makes me sad when I don't close someone because I feel like I'm doing them a disservice, because I'm like, that person won't go on to post 100 videos a month most likely. So I feel like it's my responsibility to like get as good at sales as possible, because when I can close people and help them, and like, for example, my client Kimber, I remember on our first call I was like, "Kimber, you can do this," and I like closed her on the call, and I was so excited that I closed her. And she just messaged me a couple weeks ago, and she just had 2 TikTok videos get over 1 million views. And I know that like if she didn't hire me all those months ago, she wouldn't be here right now. And like, she was literally explaining, she's like, "This, you know, changed my perspective. Like, it's going to change her business in the future as well, getting those 1 million views plus," because she kept taking the reps. Like, Kimber was so good at it. I was like, "Kimber, post this," and she's like, "I'm on it." She did it, and then she gets the result. When you do it, you get the result. So many people, like I was talking about earlier, they think, and then they wonder, "Wow, why am I not successful?" Stop thinking, start doing. If you want more money, get on more calls. If you want more followers, post more content. I love simplifying everything. In business, I feel like it's all simple. Everything's simple. Like, do you want to make double the income? Do double the income generating activities. Maybe you won't make double. Maybe you'll probably make more than double, because I find it's a snowball effect. Like, once you sign 5, it's easier to sign another 5 than it is in the beginning. Then if you double down on what works, it becomes so simple. But I think a lot of times people, and I love the book Essentialism, because it's like, if this is you, and like for the people that are listening, it's like, let's pretend you're a circle in the middle of a screen. If you've got arrows pointing every way, the circle just moves in a circle and it doesn't move forward. If you cut off all the other arrows surrounding that circle that kind of look like the sun, and you just have one arrow moving forward, that will propel you forward. So what I looked at is I stopped adding I stopped adding habits to my day-to-day, and I just cut everything out of my life that wasn't helping me move forward. And then my life got so simple. I'm like, all I need to do is wake up, post a piece of content, take a sales call, close a client, make a couple $1,000s. Day's good. If I do that every day for a year, closing a couple $1,000s, it's game changer. And I'm like, Maureen, you don't need, let me do this, I had like 3,000 tasks. Burn the task list, burn the 500 action items, and just choose 1 to 2. And that book changed my perspective on that.
Yeah, I've got to read that. But I've noticed those same principles because it really is just about repeating the things that are working. And it really is that simple. And a lot of people, and maybe even some of you guys listening here today, get stuck. It's easy for us to get stuck in the thinking about doing it stage.
Yes.
And one of my biggest concerns about this past weekend is, you guys are all, I consider you guys all friends at this point, everyone that came and spoke. And one of the cool things that Mike and I were realizing as the event started is, we have all of our friends here to speak. And it's easy whenever you're friends with somebody to forget, like, you guys start speaking. We're 2 or 3 speakers deep yesterday. We're on the panel, and I'm like, holy shit, like, it's easy to forget how crazy talented you guys are, and how crazy skillful you guys are in your individual kind of modalities. And the one thing that I was worried about, because I knew you guys were all going to crush, is giving coaches too much.
Yeah.
Right? Because you go to some events, and some events are all rah-rah.
Yes.
And it's just all hype, and everyone feels like this huge emotional high at the end of the weekend, but they don't actually have anything to go channel that into.
Yep.
And some of them are very tactical, and coaches have a lot of things that they can go do. And my only worry is that it was too tactical.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good worry to have. Like, that's this part of the spectrum you want to be on. But I had a few people that came up to me, and they talked about, there were so many things presented. Like, I don't know if I want to build a big business. I don't know if I want to build a small business. I don't know if I want to, do more funnel-based, or go into ads like Zach talked about, or go into nurture like Jared talked about. Maybe I should do a podcast. Maybe I should do, and then, everyone's kind of going all these different ways. And that's what, I don't want analysis paralysis for them.
Right.
I want people to have, what really I wanted people to take away is, there are so many paths to the life that you're wanting to create. So what you really have to do is, like what you're talking about exactly, is you have to figure out, what is this end goal that I'm actually going for, and then reverse engineer what that actually looks like for you.
Yeah.
And I had a guy tell me throughout the weekend, Chris Coleman, he was like, I'm just trying to figure out which one I want to do. I was like, I wish there was just one path. And I'm like, Chris, I understand that it'd be great if there was one path, because for clarity's sake, right? But what is different about that is, what it lacks in clarity, it makes up for an opportunity.
Yes.
Because that means that your path can look anything, like whatever you want it to look like, and you can still get to where you want to get.
Yes.
No one person on that stage got on that stage in the same exact way as another person. Right? So if you're wanting to get on that stage, or if you're wanting to make XYZ, or if you're wanting to accomplish XYZ, it's probably going to be a winding path, but that means that you can do it no matter what your background, what your path, what your life experience actually looks like. And that's the cool thing, is the opportunity there to go be able to execute, but you have to execute. And I don't know, I don't know your opinion on it, but I just worry that maybe we gave them too much value to where they're kind of like, whoa, I'm thinking about all this stuff, what do I do?
I like viewing it as we planted a lot of seeds this weekend. And it's like, I hope people go away and they choose the 3 to grow, and then we plant the rest of the garden later.
Yeah.
It's like, choose the 3. And I think it's helpful to have like all those different perspectives, because it's like they're able to, do multiple things all at the same time. But it's like, choose the 3, focus on those, and then go worry about the flowers. It's like, build the trees, build the tree house, water the flowers. Yeah, but I think a lot of events will just be like, hoorah, you've got this. Work harder. So I love that we had a combination of tactical and motivation, because I think you need to know what to do, and then you need the motivation to do it, and then you need to do it. So the only thing people need to add, it's like, I view us like, this weekend was instant oatmeal. We gave everyone instant oatmeal. The only thing you do is add hot water. Like, add the action. Add the action of pouring the hot water on that instant oatmeal. All of a sudden, you've got a meal that's going to bring in customers, going to bring in clients, and you're going to make money selling that oatmeal. But if you have a bowl of oatmeal that hasn't had hot water added, you're going to have a hard time selling it.
Yeah.
So the more hot water you can add to the more oatmeal, the better. So I love to just tell people, like, take the first bowl of oatmeal, pour some hot water on it, and sell it. And again, and again, and again. And then you can scale, and then you can hire a team, and then you can have an oatmeal factory, and then all of a sudden you're winning in life.
Yeah, that's awesome. Maureen, I cannot speak highly enough of you and what you're doing. Everyone was thoroughly impressed. I mean, while you were talking and giving your keynote, especially as you kind of got into your groove and kept going and going and going, and again distilling these big complex ideas into smaller digestible things. Like I was sitting in the back, so I had a cool vantage point. And what was so cool about it is people kept, like, you would say like a line, and people in the room that are 2, sometimes 3 times your age, are like, you'd hit us with something and people go like, look at the person next to you, like, who is this chick? Oh my gosh. Like, it is so impressive, just how you communicate, the things that you have going on. You're going to be a keynote speaker at events much bigger than that in the very near future. So I can't thank you enough for your time, especially coming in and doing a last second podcast with me here today. And we hope to have you at a lot more of these.
Thank you. Yeah, you guys did such a good job, like, building that, facilitating that. I love that, like, you leaned into the masculine of, you built this event. You found the people, you provided the venue, you provided the food. Like, it's literally like you built the house, provided that, and then it's like I just was able to, like, hop in, dance around on the stage, chitter chat, have
and
fun,
there was some dancing
motivate. There was some dancing and some chitter chatting, motivate, and it's like, then everyone gets the benefit of, like, they all walk away with having been provided food and having been provided environment and having been provided motivation, and they can go take that and scale. I think a lot of people, they have one or the other, but I love that, like, together in this event with all the speakers, it's like we came together with both, and I'm super excited to see all the coaches implement that and, like, scale their businesses to the next level.
Me too. One thing that you want to kind of call out, or multiple things, up to you, if you want to leave the people with something of how they can get in contact with you, maybe the app, like, what do you want to kind of leave with people?
Yeah, they can follow me on Instagram, Maureen's Marketing. Right now I have like 300 plus people on a coaching wait list, but I'm huge on, like, if a stranger applies to work with me on social media, I'm like, okay, you're going to be on the list, but, like, podcasts or people that are actual, like, coaches or know you guys, like, literally just shoot me a DM. I respond to all my DMs. So shoot me a DM and, like, literally ask me a question or chitter chat, and I'll help you with the content. Like, I'm huge on, I just provide value. So, like, send me a message, and the app's called Rejecto if anyone wants to download it, and it's in Apple and Google Play Store. It's everywhere.
Perfect. Thank you, Maureen.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Perfect. That was awesome.
Bye.
That was great stuff.
Yes.